We are going to get to our conversation of the day where we are talking about digital taxation. Of course, Finance Bill 2024 was tabled before Parliament. We had different proposals. There have been public participations towards that. Also, people have gone to court to discuss about this and to say there are some proposals that are not going to favor Kenyans. And of course, the digital sector is one that many people have not been talking about. But looking at the digital sector and some of the proposals that are there, you could get a little bit of the details. And joining us is Lawrence Mungai, who is the tax manager at PwC. Thank you so much for joining us on Business Today.
Thank you, Kelvin, for having me.
Yes, so let's get right into this particular conversation and look at the issues, especially when it comes to the digital taxation that was proposed, and also imposing WHT on digital marketplace stroke platform owners. So when we look at platform owners being taxed, of course, last year there was a proposal about the digital taxation, which was the excise duty. And then now this year we've seen a different thing. So from your perspective and from your expertise, what are we looking at in terms of the proposals that have been put this year?
Thank you, Kelvin, for that question. And I think just before responding to it, we can take a step back and just analyze what's Kenya's digital landscape. Where are we coming from? So Kenya started taxing digital, or rather started implementing digital taxes with effect from January 2021. And this is with respect to the digital service tax. However, prior to this, a foundation had been laid in terms of introducing a definition of a digital marketplace through the Finance Act 2019. Then subsequent to that, we had the Finance Act 2020, which now actually introduced the digital service tax at the rate of 1.5% on incomes earned from provision of services through a digital marketplace. Now, with the Finance Act 2021, we saw a further update or amendment to our tax laws, basically to broaden the scope of businesses caught under the scope of DST. So basically to include businesses that are carried out over the internet or through an electronic network. And also prior to this, we also had the DST regulations, which were introduced in 2020.
Okay.
Yeah, then subsequent to that, we've also seen a number of raft of changes, basically to clarify that actually digital service tax is applicable to non-resident persons, and specifically non-resident persons who do not have a permanent establishment, what we call a taxable presence in Kenya.
Okay.
So this particular tax was meant to bring into the tax net non-residents who basically have not previously been taxed. Now, looking at the current proposals under the Finance Bill, the first one being the withholding tax on payments by digital marketplace operators of digital marketplaces or digital platforms. So one of the attendant implications of this particular proposal that we foresee is the fact that it will increase the cost of goods and services that are actually supplied through digital marketplaces. And why is this? In the case of a non-resident vendor, who will be subject to this particular withholding tax, they might end up, or probably will actually end up, pushing that cost to the end consumer. So this will have the unfortunate impact of reducing activities, or rather activities within the e-commerce sector or the digital economy sector. So that's one of the unintended implications of actually passing this particular proposal. Then another impact we foresee is that these non-resident vendors of these goods and services through a digital marketplace might end up slowing down in terms of provision of goods and services through the digital marketplace because of course, the hit they're taking from a withholding tax perspective.
Okay.
So as a result, we'll find ourselves in a situation whereby Kenya is becoming less attractive by these digital companies that would ideally be interested in setting up in Kenya or doing business with Kenyan users. So those are some of the implications that we do foresee as a result of these particular proposals.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very well explained, and you've brought out very many issues, especially when it comes to how the effect that it will have. Let us look at now. It started in 2021, the way you've mentioned, and what motivated this? What motivated this? Because of course we can see the years back it wasn't happening. So what really motivated this, and what effect has it had? What has it had so far in the industry?
So that's a good question, Kelvin. So the whole rationale of introducing digital taxes actually is not unique to Kenya. It's a global phenomenon. And what do I mean by this? With the advent or the growth of ICT, businesses no longer have to rely on the brick and mortar model. So right now, I can do business with a client in China, for example, without that Chinese business owner or service provider having to set up in Kenya. And this is as a result of course, the growth of ICT. So what used to happen is that non-residents would be able to actually engage with Kenyans and actually accrue or derive an income from Kenyans, but were not taxable or could not be taxed because they did not have a taxable presence, basically a physical presence in Kenya. So this is and one of the ways that they have sought to address this particular challenge is coming up with unilateral measures, whereby they pass legislation to tax these particular non-resident service providers. And that's the same step that Kenya took by introducing digital service tax.
All right, Lawrence, we're just going to take a break right now. And remember, don't go too far. We'll be talking about this and much more when it comes to digital taxation, and also you can get to learn, if you are, of course, a platform holder, what this means to you. All right, so don't go too far. We'll be back with more.